again and welcome back to another episode of The Art of Business English with me, Andrew Ambrosius, your host. Well, firstly, I would like to start by wishing everyone Happy New Year. I hope you've had a fantastic New Year's Eve and have recovered from the party. Well, my friends, it's that time of year again, and it's when we start to reflect on what has been and start to plan for the new year. Now, in the previous episode, I spoke to you all about how you can retain more information and the spaced learning method. And if you haven't listened to that episode, then I highly recommend you do so, because this week it's relevant to this week's episode. And this week we're going to be looking at how we can set our goals for 2019. And we're going to get a little help from the people at Google. Okay, so their goal setting steps are pretty straightforward, and it's easy to apply to our personal and professional life. So in this episode, I'm going to be covering the following. Firstly, why we should set goals. Then I'll look at how we can set goals. And then I'll be looking at a goal setting plan. And finally, how this can help us to learn. Okay, so let's get started. So why should we set goals? Well, the setting of goals is incredibly important. Why? Because they provide us with direction. They help us focus and to lead. And this also leads to better time management and ensures that we maintain our energy levels, which is super important in business. And research also shows that if you're setting goals, it's not only important, but we also need to be very specific about them when we're writing them down. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Okay. So they must also be challenging in order to motivate us. Okay. So the key to good goals are clarity and difficulty. Okay. So if goals are not clear, or worse, vague, then they're difficult to achieve. They must also have some challenge behind them. Otherwise, there'll be no motivation to complete them. Okay, so however, we must also set realistic goals. Okay, if we set unreachable goals, then we're basically setting ourselves up for failure. Another reason why we should set goals is that they provide us the framework, okay, for how they will be achieved. Okay, so if we have ideas, then they are just ideas. But as soon as we set concrete goals and write them down, then we're basically forced to assess and evaluate the steps required to actually make them reality. Therefore, goal setting is a great tool for reflection and planning. All right. So, if you're like me, you probably know many people who have lots of grand ideas. However, those people never seem to think about the actual steps or amount of work required to make their ideas a reality. So, in summary, goal setting is what helps to make us proactively plan and think about what we need to actually do in order to get things done. Now, so we understand the importance of goal setting, okay? So let's look at how we can actually do it. So how we can set goals. So let's start by let's start by taking a look at the Google model called Objectives and Key Results, okay, or OKRs. Now, with this model, first we're required to set the big picture objectives. So those are your objectives. And this should be aligned with your personal or professional direction. You need to start by asking yourself the following types of questions. Okay, so what do we want to achieve this year professionally? What personal desires or dreams do we have for this year? What are some challenges I want to overcome? What am I scared of that I would like to conquer? How can I make my business better this year? How can I be a better employee? And the list goes on, okay? So again, the purpose of this exercise is to get you to start reflecting and being mindful, okay, of where you want to go for the next 12 months. I'd like to add that this stage of the process should be done when you're not busy or interrupted, okay? We need to have some time, some downtime to think about these things. So it could be a good thing to do before you start work in the new year if you're setting personal goals. And if you're setting business goals, then there's no problem in doing this with your team, okay? So it's fine in groups. The point is to start the conversation and get the ideas flowing. So, as I mentioned before, the goals here need to be set with some ambition and challenge. Remember, the golden rule, learning is difficult. If you're not challenging yourself and getting outside of your comfort zone, then you are not growing as a person. Okay, so humans will work hard to get themselves to a position of comfort. So by putting yourself in a position of discomfort, you're actually encouraging yourself to work harder and be more ingenious. Next step, once you've brainstormed your goals and the things you would like to work towards, you need to keep them to a maximum of 5 objectives. If you create more than 5 objectives or 5 high-level objectives, then you'll probably overwhelm yourself. So you could have like 2 for your personal life and 2 or 3 for your professional life. Okay, so let's write these up then. We need to be action-orientated. Meaning that these objectives need to be written in such a way that they push for new achievement. On the Google Rework site, they recommend avoiding expressions such as keep hiring or continue doing X. On the other hand, they suggest using expressions that convey endpoints, okay, and states. So for them, an example is climb the mountain or ship feature X or Y. Okay, so these are not the status quo. Finally, we need to write out our objectives so that we can know when they've actually been achieved. For example, one of my objectives for 2019 is to develop a comprehensive online presentation skills course for non-native English speakers that empowers them to deliver powerful presentations with confidence. Okay, so as Google encourages, the endpoint should be a moonshot, and that's what they refer to, or something that is big and lofty that encourages motivation. So my moonshot is to get my students to deliver powerful presentations with confidence. So let's look then at the second part of this process, the setting of key results. Okay, so the OKRSs, the second part are the key results. Now the key results are the things that we need to do that are measurable that will get us achieving our objective. Now once again, you should be setting about 3 key results per objective. Basically, they need to be measurable milestones, so straight out of a project management handbook there. To write them effectively, they should describe outcomes and not activities. So here I suggest writing them as things that show the completion of the task. For example, I might write, complete the course structure online and content by 2019, or by March 2019. My second KR could be complete the recording and editing by May 2019. And my final KR could be finish the sales page, content upload, and email launch sequence by June 2019. So finally, these measurable milestones must also easily provide evidence of completion. So you should actually have something tangible that you can show for at the end. Okay, so let's look at our goal setting plan. Now, the goal setting plan is super simple, and it's very similar to the spaced learning model that we discussed in the previous episode. And what we need to do is to decide on the system we would like to adopt for our plan. So let me share some of the steps with you here. So you could have a weekly goals followed by monthly goals and then 3-month goals, or weekly goals, 2-week goals, monthly goals, and 3-month goals. Or you could have weekly, monthly, 3-month, and 6-month goals, or weekly, monthly, 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month goals. Okay, so there's some different sort of formats or some different ways that you can set them. So in these models, everything we do at each step of the way should be like a milestone. Okay, so that works towards our final goal. So what I mean is that if you've divided your year in 4 and you have 3-month goals, then everything you do in the weeks and months before the end of the quarter should be aligned with meeting your quarterly goals. So the same if you've set 6-month or 12-month goals. I mean, really it's up to you how you set them. Personally, I like to set quarterly goals and divide my year into parts because I find it's easier to manage, and it also helps me keep me a bit more focused. And you can also make, I find that you can also then make some adjustments along the way. Okay, so let's look then at the last part, and this is how this can help you learn. So how can this methodology or this goal setting help us learn? Well, if you recall in the previous episode, we can use the spaced learning method to promote better retention of information. So if we set a personal goal of improving our English, then we can combine the goal setting ideas I have discussed in today's episode with the spaced repetition learning model to create a 3-month study plan, okay, that focuses on the areas that we would like to improve the most. So with our plan, we can create a constant path for revision and review, and that will ensure we retain more of the information that we plan on learning. Okay, so those are the ideas that I would put into place for your goal setting. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Just a quick episode here for the new year to get you guys thinking about how you're going to plan out your goals and how you can set your goals and your goal planning. So I hope that those ideas have helped you for your bit of motivation to help you get started for the new year. Before I go, I'd just like to remind you guys to grab a copy of the 500 Business Collocations ebook at a special AOB listeners only price by going to theartofbusinessenglish.com/get500. And if you're looking to improve your business vocabulary in 2019, then this ebook is the way to go. Finally, if you haven't already subscribed to the AOBE podcast for your free weekly dose of valuable business English content, then you can at theartofbusinessenglish.com/subscribe, and you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Well, then that's it for me, guys. I hope you've had a great start to 2019, and I look forward to serving and helping you all in the coming year. So have a great one, and I look forward to your comments, feedback, and any requests. So take care. Have a great start to 2019. Bye for now.